Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is lead. Let's take a look at some of the definitions or ways that we use this verb. The first way you're likely to hear the verb lead used is to mean to show someone the way. And you can show someone the way to a particular place by walking ahead of them or in front of them. You could walk beside them. You might hold a hand, or maybe you are showing an animal the way. So you might be leading with their leash or some kind of rope. And all of these things are occurring right as you're moving forward. A second way you might hear the verb lead used is to mean to be the reason or the motive behind a particular action. Um, as people decide to maybe pursue a new hobby, right? Many might say the pandemic led to their new hobbies. It's the reason they had all of this time at home. The pandemic led me to making these videos. I hadn't ever made or recorded a video for YouTube before March 2020. A third way to use the verb lead is to mean to be in charge of or to organize and direct either a person or group of people. A fourth way you might hear the verb lead used is to mean to have first place or to be ahead of some competitors. So you'll see this used often in connection to sports, particularly as games, races, other events are ongoing. You might hear that one team is leading another. They are ahead or they are winning. You should know that lead is an irregular verb. To make the progressive form, all you're going to do is add ing to form leading. The past tense and participle form of this verb is spelled L-E-D and it's pronounced led. Led. Okay? Now, this verb lead is used in connection with prepositions very frequently. So today we're going to focus on looking at different phrasal verbs with lead. The first one we'll examine is lead against. This means that one person or group is leading someone else or some other group in attack or maybe in a competition against another person or group of people. An example of this might be Eddie Rosario is leading Atlanta against Houston in the World Series. So in the United States right now, the major competition to determine who is the best team in Major League Baseball is just beginning. And this one player is sort of leading his team against the other in competition against this other team. Another phrasal verb you might hear is lead astray. This means to lead another person or group of people either in the wrong direction or maybe to negatively influence them. An example of this might be, is this new group of friends going to lead her astray? So we want to know, are these new friends going to have a negative influence on this particular person, right? Will this person get into trouble, engage in dangerous behavior? Those might be a few examples. And I always do this when I have lots of phrasal verbs, but I wanted to point out the verb tenses I'm using. So in the first example, is leading against, that's present progressive or present continuous, talking about something that is in progress. My second sentence, is this new group of friends going to lead? That's an example of the simple future using be going to. Okay, now back to new phrasal verbs. Another you might hear is lead away. This is guiding someone in a particular direction. An example of this might be police led protesters away from the intersection. So here, maybe people have gathered in a particular place and people feel like it's dangerous or maybe it's blocking traffic. So they're guiding them to a different place or in a different directions. This example, led away, is an example of the simple past tense. Another phrasal verb you might hear is lead back. This means that someone or something is being guided to the starting point, the origin, where something began. Okay? An example might be these markers will lead hikers back to the lodge. Okay? So maybe people are vacationing, staying in a particular building, a lodge, and there are markers that take them on a hike through the woods, and eventually they come back to where they started, the lodge. Will lead hikers back is an example of simple future using will. Another phrasal verb you might hear is lead by. This can mean to provide guidance. An example sentence would be, are you leading by example? So sometimes this question is asked of teachers, parents, supervisors, right? So sometimes it's not enough just to tell people what you want them to do. You also need to do it to show show them that this is the best or most ideal way to behave or act. Are you leading by example is an example of a yes or no question in the present progressive. The next phrasal verb is lead down. This can mean to continue to a lower point or a lower level. An example might be this trail leads down to the valley, right? So valley is usually a low point in comparison to the hills or mountains that surround it. Leads down is an example of the simple present, right? So we're describing a fact. Another phrasal verb you might hear is lead in or lead into. And what this can mean is that someone or something is being guided into a particular place. An example of this, the teacher will lead the students into the assembly, right? So they are being guided to a particular place. Will lead the students into is another example of the simple future using will. Okay, let's look for, or look at rather, some additional phrasal verbs. The next one is lead off. This can mean to begin or start. An example, you can lead off the meeting with your questions. Okay, can lead off here is an example of a modal. It might be giving someone permission or describing that they are capable, able to begin this particular meeting with their own questions. The next phrasal verb is lead on. This can mean to cause someone to think incorrectly about another's feelings or their interest. So this is used many times in romantic situations. So let's look at the example situation and I'll describe the situation a bit more. You're leading that poor guy on. Don't agree to more dates if you're not interested. Okay, so here maybe a friend is saying to another that they know this person isn't really romantically interested in someone else, but they keep saying yes to dates, and that person is going to think, oh, this person likes me. So sometimes that can be thought of as being rather mean or insincere because it can really hurt someone else's feelings. Another phrasal verb is lead out. This can mean to serve as a path or a route out of some particular place. An example might be, who can lead us out of this maze? Okay, so again, we might be asking a question here about who is able or capable to find the route out of this particular game. A maze is meant to lead you kind of to dead ends or other points where you're trying to figure how to get out of this particular spot. Another phrasal verb you might hear is lead up. This is kind of the opposite of lead down. So here we're continuing to a higher point or a higher level. An example of this trail will lead up to the waterfall. Another phrasal verb is lead up to. This can mean to serve as preparation for something. An example here, the concert led up to the fireworks. Okay. The last phrasal verb we're going to look at today is to lead with. It has a similar meaning as lead off. So again, think of beginning or starting something. You might hear someone say at the beginning of a meeting or some type of gathering, we'll lead with introductions. We'll lead with introductions. So we're going to begin today by making introductions, saying who we are and maybe where we're from. Okay. Now, on this page, I know I didn't stop often and point out the different verb tenses that are being used, and that's because we have some repetition here. So you're leading that poor guy on. That's present progressive or present continuous. This trail will lead up to the waterfall. That's an example of simple future. The concert led up to the fireworks. That's simple past tense. And our last one there will lead with introductions. Again, simple future. Now, let's spend just a little time looking at words that are related to our verb of the day, lead. And the first word we're going to look at today is the noun lead. And I have a special note about this. This first lead as a noun is going to be pronounced exactly like our verb is. Just like our verb, it can have a number of different meanings. We're going to focus on 4. The first is a piece of information that may help in the resolution of a problem. Now, I feel like this particular definition, if you like crime and drama movies or TV shows, that you might hear this used. So, an example of that is, are there any new leads in the case, right? Any evidence or information that might help us figure out who committed a particular crime. A second way to use the noun lead is to refer to a person or thing that might be useful in business. So something that allows you to make connection or make a sale. I think this noun is really common in sales types of jobs. And that's connected to the example I have here. You should identify 10 new leads each week. So maybe this is a boss, a manager, talking to a new hire in a sales role. So we are trying to identify 10 people that might lead you to making a sale. A third way to use the noun lead is to refer to the main part in a play or a film or some other production. An example of that, she is auditioning for the lead in the musical, right? So the main part. Generally, it's the part with the most lines, the most time on stage or on screen. A fourth way to use the noun lead is to refer to a position of advantage in some type of competition. So again, think about sports. And I know sometimes as games are on at my house, I might walk into the room and say, who is in the lead, right? This is just another way to say who is winning at the moment. Now, I mentioned that I had a special note. The next noun is going to look very similar, exact same spelling, but our pronunciation is going to change. So the second noun you see on the screen, L-E-A-D, is going to be pronounced led, just like the past tense verb, or you might think about it rhyming with the color red. Okay, so when you hear the word led used, you might have to think, wait, is that being used as a verb or is it referring to a thing? If it's a noun, it might be referring to a chemical element. It's kind of a heavy but soft metal, and it's used in a number of different products. And my example sentence here is lead pipes have contaminated the drinking water. This is a huge problem in many communities right now in the United States. This chemical element was used in pipes, and then the pipes became rusty. They were not maintained well. And then that lead gets into the drinking water, and that can be really damaging to the development of children. It's connected to many many challenges that they might encounter with their health and as they learn and grow. A second meaning, same pronunciation here, lead, I'll say it again. Many times this is used in connection to pencils. So in the United States right now, we're not really using lead, that element that I referenced just a moment ago. Now it's more commonly graphite. And so anytime graphite is being used for writing, you might hear people make a reference to lead. Like in this example, I need some more lead for my mechanical pencil. So again, technically it's not lead, it's graphite, but people still use that term. Another related word you might hear is the noun leader. That suffix er is hopefully telling you this is a person who leads or who commands. Could be a group, it could be an organization, a company, or even a country. An example of this noun in a sentence might be, many countries' leaders will gather next week at a climate summit in Glasgow, Scotland. Right? So, leaders is going to refer to prime ministers, presidents, right? Other titles, but they are the people who lead different countries. The last word we're going to look at today is yet again another noun. It's leadership. This can mean the action of leading a group of people or an organization. An example of this might be, how would you describe your leadership style? So, some people who lead organizations, they like to tell everyone this is exactly what you're going to do and this is how you're going to do it. Other people might ask for their teams, their organizations to share ideas and participate in decision making. So there are many different ways to lead a group or lead an organization. Sometimes, though, leadership, the noun, will be used to refer to a group of leaders. You can see that in the second example. Leadership hasn't made a decision. And so, again, I think this might be something that can get confusing in English. We have the noun leadership. It's singular, so that's why I'm using has, not made there. But it is referring to a group of people. So sometimes that can be confusing. Just point that out there. But what this means is the various leaders in this organization haven't made a decision. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.